Thank you very much for the introduction. I'm completely outshone, of course, by the wonderful ladies that has joined my panel. My gray hair can't compete with their beautiful presence. So thank you very much. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for the three of us to join, to share some of our thoughts. Following a historic and an unprecedented period that we've all gone through, and I would love for both Amina and Nariman to share some of their experiences. Just in case you don't know Amina or Nariman that well, Amina has been in the HR profession for about 16 years, and she's done the whole spectrum from HR strategies, transformation, OD, performance management, and rewards. Primarily, up until last year, she was working with Telenor and has done that both from a global perspective in Oslo as well as from Telenor Pakistan. And then last year, she actually joined Engro Infrashare as the head of HR and is now solely responsible for engaging people and getting the best out of talent in her organization. Nariman has been although you wouldn't say that, but she claims that she's been working in the field of HR for nearly 2 decades, and she's worked across a number of different industries: telecom, FMCG, and of course now in the development sector, specifically at the British Council, where she's currently looking after the talent and development area for not only South Asia but also East Asia. So that's quite a footprint, Nariman. So welcome both Amina and Nariman to this conversation. We've got only 25 minutes, so I'm gonna run through this in a relatively quick succession. So can I just kickstart the conversation by asking? I'm gonna start with Amina. The previous session, we talked a lot about flexible work, etc., and I'm sure all of the other panelists have talked about the benefits and whether we move completely to a more flexible work environment. So I would like you to leave that out. But how is your approach to talent management change post-COVID? Well, not actually in COVID at the moment, but how you anticipate that some of these changes to last, Amina?
Yeah, thank you, Paul, and assalamu alaikum, everyone. I think, Paul, it's such a difficult topic, talent management, that it has now become due to the COVID and primarily because of the flexible ways of work. And as you know, many companies are now moving permanently towards the flexible way of work. So what this is doing is it's making talent management very tricky. You know, the traditional tools that we have had, the 360 and the other tools that we've been using, they become more and more less effective, and they are becoming less and less transparent. Talent management has always been sort of said, you know, it's all perception based. If there is any truth to that, it's going to become many folds now that more and more people are working virtually. The 360-degree data points, for example, they will be more and more perception based when more people are working virtually, and the interaction between employees and the leaders and senior management is primarily through work. As we go remote, informal interactions decrease, on-the-job experiences decrease. So it becomes more and more difficult. At the same time, if I talk about the telecom industry, bonuses and increments are shrinking. What do you do with your top performers? How do you reward and engage them? On the other side, I think we always forget when we talk about talent management, managing poor performance. So if poor performance is number one now becoming difficult to identify in a timely manner, we do get to find out about it, but some time has passed. Line managers and employees are not meeting regularly. That means constant feedback is not being given, and poor performance can hide under it. So now what do you do when you finally do identify a poor performer? You know, how do you then coach that person, work with that person to turn it around? And traditionally, we have also seen that poor performance, or when we talk about performance improvement plans, people tend to take it very negatively and they see it as a legal documentation to exit an employee. This will become more so. Because, you know, these kinds of improvements happen when people start sitting next to each other, share their expectations, share their challenges and problems. That is happening less and less. So for me, it's becoming so difficult. And then when I sort of now flipping back and forth between poor and top performance, the good performance or even the poor performance whose performance you need to enhance, the learning and development side. Now it's becoming online learning. Yes, it's excellent. We talk about all the benefits of it and everything, but we need to realize in countries like Pakistan and organizations across Pakistan, this might take some time to become mainstream. So then,
Yeah.
do we then replace it for the employees who have been, used to the on-campus trainings and on-campus development opportunities? How well will they respond to it? Will they have time to do this on their own? So I think this is, for me, due to the COVID and during COVID and post-COVID era, talent management is just becoming tricky and less transparent. If I can sum it up.
I think you've just opened a black box, Samina, that we can talk about it for about 8 hours. All the different topics around performance management. How do you reward? How do you engage people in a more flexible? How do you motivate people? How do you create connections? So I'm sure we're able to touch upon one or two of them. But before we do that, let me ask Nariman in terms of what have you seen? Not just in Pakistan, but maybe across also the footprint that you look after, Nariman,
Sure.
in terms of what are practices that have changed or that you think are going to last going forward?
Sure. I mean, I think for us, one of the things that I do want to sort of talk about at the onset is the nature of the work that the British Council does. So you're talking about in East Asia, our biggest thing is like teaching centers where people are coming in to learn English. And of course, that had to stop. In Pakistan and across South Asia, you had exams. Again, we saw that stop. So for us, it was a really big hit in terms of our income. Like it was difficult. It was a really, really big hit for us.
Absolutely.
And we had to see how we could pivot our programs to be digital. And we are a slightly old school organization. I do admit it. You know, we take time. We're slow to adopt to change. And so for us, making that switch to digital and technology was a big thing. And of course, as for many organizations, COVID accelerated that. Now, the interesting thing was we were in the middle of our talent management cycle. And we actually put a pause and said, okay, when we looked at the talent picture, we were in a very different situation. The skills that we were looking at were different. We were looking at a different way of approaching our business. And we don't think that that's really going to apply. And it's not going to be the same moving forward because yes, we don't know how long COVID would last, but we also realized making that switch to digital meant it opened up a lot more markets for us. We had a much bigger reach and all of these things. So for us, I think the first thing was actually changing our approach to what skills and things we needed when it came to talent. So that was a big thing for us. That was a big pause for us as well as far as our program was concerned.
Now, can I just ask you what was the biggest gap that you've identified that you have to build in your talent pool?
Basically, the use of digital tools. When we were doing our talent, we had done our top levels of management for our talent approach. And at that point, I think we focused a lot on leadership, which is still important. We focused a lot on, but we didn't really talk much about digital because we didn't think it was a driving thing for that particular group. But we realized moving forward that really doesn't work if they don't understand it. They're not going to be able to sort of roll it out. So that was the biggest gap for us. In terms of, I think Amna also spoke about like e-learning and virtual learning and all of these things. And that was a big change that the journey we were already on. I think we started a year earlier, but obviously during COVID, a lot of the people who had less belief in that kind of had to come on board. We did increase our learning offer significantly, but again, the nature of what we were offering was very different. So we focused a lot on well-being, helping managers sort of like, how do you speak to your teams when it comes to these things, the stress that people were dealing with. So I think just the approach to the whole person became a lot more important for us when it came to talent. It wasn't just about the skills and those things anymore. We looked at the whole person picture, and that was the perspective that we were coming from rather than these are the skills that we want.
Yeah, I've seen it in a number of different organizations, and I've got two data points. One is, of course, the practice in which I speak to organizations and the focus on employee well-being, emotional well-being, but also financial well-being has significantly increased. And as simple as the best place to work survey that of course I'm running, where 2 years ago we had 80 companies nominating themselves, and this year we had 250 companies nominating themselves. So I think this whole focus on engagement has completely has really transformed over the last 2 years. Amna, in EnfraShare, how have you been able to translate that focus on well-being of people, emotional, financial, social well-being? How have you been able to put that into place?
I think we are very lucky to be part of a bigger group that focuses a lot on the employee well-being.
Your sound is slightly closer. Yeah, thank you, Amna.
Okay, sorry. So yeah, I was saying we are part of the bigger Anglo group. Anglo has a very strong focus on employee well-being. So the moment that COVID started, we started taking measures. We started introducing different sessions for employees. We realized people will be working from home, people will be working long hours, weekends, and end of days, just became blurred. So we started introducing these 30-minute sessions, yoga sessions, or relaxation sessions, and these happen on a weekly basis. Similarly, we introduced counselors to our employees. We made them available where people could reach out to them anonymously, discuss the challenges that they were facing because of all these scenarios around them. People were losing loved ones, so we made sure that they had someone to talk to.
And what of those practices are you think going to continue even when COVID, the big COVID pandemic has passed? Which one is lasting in your perspective?
I think all of them should last because in the normal scenario when we were living,
should, of course.
They should, because we never thought about these things. Employee well-being was seen as more of employee engagement and those kind of things, or a leadership caring attitude. But I think this is very important. I've been working in companies for so many years, and I've seen people burn out, people go through very difficult phases in their lives, and it impacts their work. It impacts, both their work and home lives. So I personally think it should continue, and I think it must continue, if I can say that. Yeah.
Nariman, any specific examples from the British Council around people well-being?
We've actually done quite a lot around it. And this, again, it wasn't just pandemic. I think in the pandemic, it just sort of accelerated, but mental health and awareness around it and these things was something that we have been working on for years. We have a set of what we call mental health first aiders, which are employees who've been trained and to sort of be the first responders. So if you're feeling anything and you need to just talk, and then they can probably guide you on if you want to go for further professional help or things like that. So we've got those in place. We've got a number of programs on resilience and managing stress, et cetera, these things which are going to continue. And we've also developed what we call a resilience and well-being playbook, which is easily accessible to employees. And that's obviously going to remain online for the end of time for the British Council. Yeah. But it links to a lot of the content that we have available. There's loads of exercises that people can do. It's a great tool for managers to sort of do with their team, like activities that they can run with their team, because we felt one of the biggest things that we had to focus on was the managers, right? So they were either the cause of stress when they are constantly checking, why are you not on your seat? And we spoke a lot about the difference between being present and being actually it wasn't about presenteeism. It was about productivity. It's not about the little circle next to your name remaining green, but it's more about what are you doing with that time? So we had to do a lot of focused sessions with managers to sort of get that through. Absolutely. Easier in some regions than others.
No, I love the fact that you pick up the line managers, because I think for them, apart from a contributor, suddenly leading your team that you don't see is a completely different ballgame altogether. In EnfraShare, I'm sure, Amina, that some part is still, a lot of that is about essential industries, and people are still out in the field in order to make sure that the facilities are up and running. But the group what have you done in terms of helping line managers to be able to cope with these new challenges that are going to be lasting past pandemic?
I think it's more about communication and always being in touch with your employees, talking to them, having offline conversations, small things that we have been taken for granted over the period of time, having online coffee sessions, for example, making them a regular feature where employees can just talk about different things. We started those thinking that let's see what kind of things people talk about. People bring creative ideas, people talk about the challenges they're facing in their everyday work and bring it to the management to do something about those. So those, they have really helped. So, and now in the next few months and weeks, we are planning these sessions with all the HODs where the whole company is going to be invited and talk about these things. And I think when it's online, it's easier for people to talk in front of others as well.
So let's transition the conversation a little bit and talk about not so much from an HR perspective, talent perspective, but from a professional perspective. I am a professional in the talent market in Pakistan, and as a result now, as we heard Ali mentioning, my opportunities apparently have gone global. I'm not quite sure whether that's indeed the case, but yeah, I think there are examples of. I personally have examples of that I suddenly do business in other parts of the world that a year ago I would not have anticipated. But if I'm a professional in an organization and all these changes are happening, how do I position myself? What do I need to do as a professional in order to get some of the opportunities that the post-COVID world is going to offer me? Nariman, can you start?
Sure. I think there's certain things which haven't changed in terms of if you are an employee and you want to get access to global opportunities, there's still certain things that you would have done pre-COVID and you're going to do now. That includes things like who you're networking with in the organization. It includes things like taking on stretch assignments. It includes things in working across functions on projects that allow you that projection. Taking charge and saying, I want to present. I think the advantage that we've had with COVID is that there were certain, when you had a meeting in a global team, I'm part of a global team, for example, there would always be half the team in the UK office in London. They would be having a mini meeting and I would sort of be like watching that meeting.
Yeah, the fly on the wall. You would be the fly on the wall.
You can't really participate. And I'll give my own example. Over this last 1 year, I've been able to work on projects that I wouldn't have pre-COVID. Okay. I've been able to participate in meetings that I wouldn't have pre-COVID. Those are all things that I'm raising my hand and saying, yes, I'm going to do it. I want to do it. And as a result, now there are opportunities that they're thinking about. And they're like, okay, we can consider her for XYZ. So it is really up to you and how much you are willing to put yourself out there. Yes, I think there's certain skills I've spoken about digital already that you need to sort of brush up on. And even pre-COVID, you were always meant to keep learning. It wasn't a case of I've reached a certain stage, I've learned all I needed to. That's not going to work. You need to understand how the business runs outside your function. So knowing HR is not enough. I need to know, okay, in East Asia, teaching is a big thing. And why is it not working? So I can provide the right advice and so on and so forth. So I think I don't see a massive difference in what employees need to do in a post and pre-COVID world. I think it's just that it's easier to do it now. That's what I feel.
That's a very positive message. Thank you, Nariman. Amna, how do you see that?
I agree with Nariman 100%. I have worked in a remote team, and I've managed a remote team, and I've seen people succeed and I've seen people fail. And the difference of what Nariman said, raise your hand. You have to be a self-driven person to work remotely. I think this is going to become the norm for even the traditional businesses, even in Pakistan. So I think people need to be self-driven, take initiative. And I personally think, and this is just something that I've been observing recently, it's the millennials who are best at it. My traditional employees would never go to their line manager, seek feedback unless it's a performance management cycle client. These people, they make sure they go to the line managers, they seek feedback regularly, they demand feedback, they demand goal clarity. These are the things that's going to sort of help you excel and shine out when people are working virtually. And these are the things that's going to take you to the next level.
Can I, my personal perspective, and I love that that you complement each other on that. But building on that is, I think each individual also has to be extremely clear what his USP is, and continue to expand that. What is my leadership brand? What do I want to be recognized for? And as a result, where can I gain skills in order to build my skill resume? Yeah, I call it skillpreneurial. How can you as an entrepreneur, you're responsible for managing your skill profile, and the whole idea is to continuously and very rigorously reinvent yourself and constantly look at skills that are required. Linking to that is then also this question around artificial intelligence and talent management, or the whole thing around technology and talent management. The last 12 months, we've seen virtual, and in my company's term, gamified assessments. You've seen virtual interviews. You've seen virtual onboarding. You've seen virtual performance reviews. You've seen virtual learning. You've seen virtual exit conversations. You've seen virtual well-being conversations. What do I need to do as a professional in order to make, because that's very different. The way that you present yourself on a screen is very different than if you look somebody physically in the eye and make that human connection. What do you think talent can do in order to ready themselves to continue to do that, and to actually continue to stand out at the same time?
I think your physical presence in an online setting, it's how you present yourself, how confident and articulative you are. Doing online interviews is never the best approach, but we do it every day now. And the body language that you see online and the body language you see in the room, a lot is missing. You only see the upper portion of the person in an online meeting. So you have to be really presentable, you have to be really confident. But at the end of the day, it's still the matter inside here. And usually that speaks out, even
awesome.
in an online interview.
Thank you. Nariman?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the ground reality. We have to accept that technology, even, pre-COVID, it was becoming more and more a part of what we do and how we assess things. But we do need to remember artificial intelligence is constantly learning as well, right? It's going to keep getting better and keep getting more human, for lack of a better word. So I don't feel it'll ever be able to do 100%. So when it comes to talent, I don't think you'll ever be 100% without the people, the one-on-one, or that sort of human
connection.
It's not going to work, because there's certain things, especially when you go to more senior roles, that I feel it just cannot come through a computer-based or a virtual situation. So I feel like people need to learn how to balance that, and as Amna said, those things will remain the same, your confidence, etc. That's all there, but it's not just about how you perform in that one little window, right? Your talent journey is what you're doing the whole time, and that is being watched by people. That is your team giving feedback. That's your peers, your colleagues, your supervisors, whoever it is. So it's never enough to just focus on what's happening in that AI bit. Just remember that your talent journey is the entire work time that you're there. It's not just about those little windows that you need to focus on.
Yeah, and like Amina mentioned, I think the millennials and Generation Z are slightly in the driving seat there. But what do we do to the gray guys like myself that have to catch up with that? Because I think there's a lot part of the professional world, that is not just the 18 and the 25-year-olds. It's also the 45 and the 55-year-olds, correct? Amna, what have you seen there?
I think you're right. I've seen those who have stuck to the traditional ways, and then you see them, they are the people who would stay in an organization, they would perform at a decent level, and they will just stay there. But the people who have the drive, who have the ability to change, who are seeing things around them, who are aware how their company strategy is evolving and what skills they need to be acquiring, who are open to change or who accept change, they tend to start shining out. And as the employment market starts shrinking, as we now see it happening, it is only those who are shining out or who are open to change that are able to shine through and seek other employment.
Yeah, thank you. Nariman, last comment from you on that particular part, and then I'll summarize it.
I'll make it brief. We do invest in what we call reverse mentoring quite a bit. So where we have the young ones, the millennials, who sort of help us work with. Yes, we do. And as Amna said, there's certain people who are more open to it and it works. But I think by having them work together and people who feel that, yes, I can learn from anyone and anywhere, it's really helped us quite a bit. And we've had people adapt fairly quickly to things we didn't think would happen as quickly as they did.
Fantastic. Well, I hope that I've reinvented. I think my career has had three different, very different components. My corporate, then became a consultant, and now leading a tech startup. I promise you, is a completely ball game altogether. I always now say that my consulting ensures that my kitchen runs, and the HR tech startup ensures that my brain keeps on functioning. But yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, just as an example, it's amazing what is now possible. Even with a small group of tech developers from Karachi is now servicing 50 companies around the world in 125 different countries. I think that 2 years ago, I would not have been possible. So I think it's all about, like Amina mentioned, it's all about seeing that opportunity and having to drive to go there. The number of things that we've all seen, and I think, Nariman, you've mentioned acceleration. It's all about, I think it is about acceleration, but one thing that has really accelerated almost from zero was this whole element around emotional well-being, stress, and social well-being. And I really hope that going forward, companies will continue to make that a centerpiece of their talent strategies, and make putting the human at the center of your organization a key to be relevant as a talent organization, or as a best place to work. It's been wonderful talking to you. Thank you, Amina. Thank you, Nariman. I'm just handing over back to Ali. I've got 20 seconds left, so I think we've done a great job. Thank you, team. Much appreciated. Ali, back to you.